G'day, Mel James. Welcome to Market in a Minute in spring 2019, and today we are talking about buy, sell. A lot of people consider buying and then they consider selling. They consider it's two completely separate sort of transactions. We try and encourage people to be looking at one transaction. If you're buying and you're selling, to understand the ramifications of both all in one package. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's look at the buying. If you buy well, let's say it's a $3 million property. If you buy well, you can maybe buy it for $2,750,000. If you buy poorly, you can be maybe paying $3,250,000. There's $500,000. On the sell side of things, if you then see this house and you've rushed into it a little bit, on the selling side, you can be losing $250,000 because you just got to get it out there. You didn't have time to go ahead with presentation. You're selling it at the wrong cycle, the wrong part of the market. So you could be losing $250,000 instead of having time, thinking about it, and then going through a logical process and making $250,000 on the sale of your property. Overall, these sorts of things here can add up to $1 million. That's right, $1 million on a simple buy-sell transaction at, say, $3 million. And from there it still goes, it can get even worse because if you've bought well, that can be increasing over a short period of time up to $2 million, but if you've bought poorly, you'll be starting down here and then trying to work your way back to zero. It's really important in our mind that you consider the buy-sell in one complete changeover. Next point. When you're actually selling, or when you're buying and selling, but the selling part of it is really important for the fact that you've got leverage. If you've got a substantial house at the moment, you have leverage out there in the market. You've got leverage out there with the agents to be encouraging them to go and find you something that you want to buy. You've got some leverage out there in negotiating price of the buying home as well as the selling home. There's a whole lot of areas where you have leverage in the selling while you've still got that property. But as soon as you've sold that property, your leverage is completely gone. So in selling first, do we buy first, do we sell first? But in the selling first, you've lost that leverage when you're going to buy in the future. Something to consider. Third thing in the buying and selling is buffer. It's really important in our mind that you've got both an emotional buffer and a dollar buffer, a financial buffer. What does a financial buffer mean? Well, you could have an overdraft of a couple of $100,000 that allows you to, if you buy first, to be able to sell when you want to. If you sell first, that actually gives you a little bit of a buffer that if the market changes dramatically, you can actually work with that. It's important to have a dollar buffer, but it's also important to have an emotional buffer. In other words, a plan B. Let's say that you sold first and you're out to buy a property and you're going to go and buy this property, but for whatever reason you couldn't, e.g. it went past you, where are you going to live? If you haven't sort of got a plan for a rental or staying with somebody else that you act in a place where you like, then you could end up going and forcing yourself into a buy situation that you don't want to be involved in. In other words, you could be buying a property that's not going to work for you down the track and you're back down in this sort of area than up here. So it's really important to be looking at a buffer of emotion and a buffer for handling your dollars. Buy, sell, I would consider them all in one package together. I'm Mel James.